So, last weekend, my grandfather surprised me with an offer to take me to see Mission Impossible 5, and for someone who really isn't that interested in going to the movies these days, I was at first like, yeah, I don't know about that, but then I thought about all the movies that were going to be released in theaters this year, and I go, actually, Mission Impossible 5, I think, is one of the movies I won't mind going to the movies to see because, it's just a summer blockbuster. There's no real point in, having people go back and shouting out spoilers or having people interrupt it because, it's a movie that's made for fun, but it's actually a good version of fun, so I decided, alright, let's see it. Most people out there seem to indicate if I like the fourth one, I should like this one, and I did like the fourth one, so went in, viewed it, and they were right. So if you like the fourth one, you'll like this one totally. But as all of you guys know, if you've watched multiple videos of mine, I have a real tough time talking about singular movies, and I've actually been trying for like the past 15 minutes to try and actually get this video right, so don't expect too much from it, alright? Yeah. So, I was pleasantly surprised to learn that all of the main guys from the previous movies were coming back. Tom Cruise, Simon Pegg, Jeremy Ray, and Vic Rams. So, you've got all four of the main guys as the IMF team. That I could tell that we were going to be in for some good humor and a whole lot of ownage on their parts. But at the same time, I was like, hang on a sec. All the other movies, had a four-person team, but always they had one of them as the hot girl. So, how does the hot girl figure into this movie? Well, I got my pleasant surprise a couple minutes into the movie and learned that the hot girl in this movie is also working for the bad guys, which is something that I'd kind of been wishing that they would do, because the only time that happened was in the first one, and even then it wasn't entirely clear that Claire, was with Jim, because the thing was, even though she was working with Jim for pretty much the entire movie, she had to help Ethan out quite a lot, and she did begin to get feelings for him because she was encouraging Jim not to kill Ethan, so Jim pauses and then decides to kill her out of spite, even though technically he knows that she can't defeat him. Right, so yeah, it was nice to see them revisit that, because it puts an additional layer to this movie. Yeah. So other things that I found interesting about the movie was how they were able to incorporate a few more characters into this movie, and also have the movie be different from the others, because this movie, I'm going to argue, does not have a really definitive villain, because they kind of withhold that information from us, and then they plant a couple of false scenes, because the person that Liza is working with throughout the movie, you can argue that he's a villain, but at the same time, you could also argue that whoever that British guy was the villain, for coming up with the rogue nation to begin with, and then you could also argue that Liza is the villain because she's constantly stopping Tom Cruise, even though she does save him twice, so I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think that it's a really interesting thing. And I also did enjoy having like the double bluff thing come back, because the only other movie that there's been shall we say, moments where the hero's motivations are kind of conflicted is the first one. So it was nice to see that, because you got to look at what Tom Cruise is doing and question, is this the right course of action? Is he really looking after his best interest? And he later says that he is, even though he does have to convince the others that he's in his right mind, but it's one of those situations where, even though he is in his right mind is actually El Wacko, as everybody kept stating, Yeah. And like with the fourth one, I'm impressed at how this movie was able to change locations a lot throughout the movie, and it didn't feel disjointed at all, because 2 and 3, they only went to a couple of different places throughout the movie, in my eyes, although 3 did attempt to try and bring in a little more, but it didn't feel as perfect. But 4 was able to go to at least 3 different major locations and do it well, and the same thing happened with this movie. And I do like how, even though there's many tense situations that you know Tom Cruise is going to be able to get out of, such as like that underwater scene, and well, all the car chases. You know he's gonna get out of it, and yet we get totally sucked in, wondering what the heck is he going to do, and then we start laughing at all the humor moments from the car chase, and then we get totally shocked when it looks like he's about to die, but then Eliza saves him. So yeah, it goes to show movie magic. It still works on me, even though I'm familiar with many of the cliches out there. Although it's a bit of a pity that it doesn't really work on me when they're trying to get me scared, because I can't recall too many movies that have gotten me scared. Oh, I can recall a couple. Like, I was scared stiff the first time I saw Pitch Black, and then Paranormal Activity in the first Saw movie. They really spooked me out, because get this, the first Saw movie is the one that I remember the least out of all of them. Kind of funny, huh? Yeah, but that's one instance where movie magic doesn't work, but this movie magic worked alright. And how did I feel about Alec Baldwin's character? Well, since this movie doesn't really have, a leader of the IMF, it does kind of make sense that you have Alec Baldwin kind of be like the leader in a sense, but it was also good to see the series again have a character that even though he is trying to do good intentions, just doesn't understand what is going on. Now, there are times where I don't really like that, because like the Bayformers movies in the first and third movie, when they had those types of characters that are just trying to do their job but just don't understand the situation, I got extremely annoyed by those characters. Now, Alec Baldwin, I did kind of get annoyed by him, but it was a good kind of annoyed. It's not that I totally wanted to bitch slap them, because, like, I knew that Tom Cruise would kind of do the same thing to Alec Baldwin, and he did right at the end there. Yeah, but... So, even though I'll admit Alec Baldwin does present himself to be a bit of a D-bag off of camera, on camera, I think that a few people should, get a little bit off his back, even though he has appeared in bad movies like Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Oh, please, but that movie's just crap to begin with, yeah, so, yeah. And in case I didn't mention this, I love how this movie, had tons of humor in it, but wasn't trying to explicitly be funny. That was a strength that the fourth one had, and is a good pro of this. So I think I've kind of dragged this video on long enough, so where do I rank this in the franchise? Well, actually, I'm not going to do that, because the thing is, I've watched all the other movies, with the exception of 2, at least twice, so I've had their impressions, able to seek on me. 2, I'm not going to re-watch. I know where that movie ranks. It's the worst of the franchise, okay? But this one I want to wait on, because I could theoretically say it's better than the 4th. I could say it's better than the 1st, which is still my favorite up to this point in time. I might rank this one over it, or I might say it's just about as good as 4, but say that it's below. So I'm going to wait on that, okay? I'm probably going to re-watch this movie at some point, though not immediately, because, well, what's the point if we watch the movie that you've just seen, so there you go. Oh yeah, but what's my rating for it? 4.8 as of right now. I might drop it down to 4.5. Again, we gotta wait for it to sink in on me, okay? Hope you enjoyed it, because as I've stated, it's tough for me to talk about a singular movie.